Now, the chapter we're going to talk about right now, this chapter deals with what's called dividend policy. Now, as a company makes money, there's only two things they can do with their earnings: paid out dividends or retain it in the firm. And in this chapter now, they talk about the different kinds of dividend policies, the impact of it, some of the accounting questions revolving around it, some of the tax consequences of it. And we're going to step through some of those things and then work some problems in the back of the chapter. Now, just so you know, some of the topics we talk about, I feel is better explained really with a problem sitting in front of us. So some of these things we kind of not going to talk about completely in the lecture, but we'll pick up again when we talk about it in the problems. Now, one of the first things I want to talk about with you here about dividend policy is what are the different kinds of dividend policies that you typically find for companies. And there's probably, well, the three that we're going to talk about, this probably is, fits most corporations now. And what you see on the board here, these are the different policies that you commonly see at any rate. And one is known as the constant payout policy, constant payout. Now, what that means is that as the company makes money, generates earnings, they pay a certain percentage of that out to the shareholders. So if the dividend payout ratio they like is 30%, then as they make money every year, as they make earnings, they pay 30% of their earnings out in the form of dividends, and they retain the other 70%. This constant payout now, they're talking about the dividend payout ratio, which is the company's dividends per share divided by the earnings per share. What they don't pay out now, they get to retain. So if a company pays out 60% in dividends, then they retain the other 40% into the company. But that's called a constant payout policy, and that's a very common type of policy that you see with corporations. Another type is known as the regular dividend. Now, what this really means is that there's a constant dividend that's paid. In other words, there's a company that says, we pay $3 a share in dividends every year, and that's what they pay. And so they don't pay anything else. Sometimes what you'll see companies do is they'll pay a regular dividend like that, a constant dollar amount that they pay every year, and then they increase it, by whatever factor. So it might increase 2% a year, or 3% a year, or what have you. But that's a regular dividend policy. There's going to be a certain dollar amount that they like to pay. The dollar amount could grow, but the base amount that they're paying, that's the regular dividend. Increasingly, you see in companies that think they have great growth potential at any rate, this low regular dividend and then an extra dividend. So there's going to be a certain dollar amount that they pay all the time, and then they'll pay an extra dividend if they think earnings are available for it. So this is a way, this last policy we're talking about now, this is a way of a company paying dividends, satisfying their shareholders. But also at the other end of the day, if they have a very good year, they have the earnings to support extra dividends, they go ahead and pay that too. And so what I wanted to start with here in this chapter dealing with dividend policy now is talk about these three different common types of dividend policies that you see with a company or with various companies. And let this be our first kind of step into this topic.